Hello and welcome to the Low Carb Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Leah Williamson, and I'm with my host, Holly Jean. Hi, Holly.
Hi, Leah.
We've got a really exciting guest today. Our guest today is Abby Derluwanja from House of Keto. Abby started keto in 2017 and has had huge success and went on to inspire many others, including her own family. Abby motivates others through her social media platform, House of Keto, showing her delicious recipes, foods she's making, her beautiful children and family, how she runs many challenges, just all the great things that she does. We're so excited to have you here. Welcome, Abby.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I must apologize about my voice. I think I'm losing it. So I have a nice husky voice for our listeners today. So, Abby, Holly and I we obviously, the idea of the podcast is we find the latest news, health news articles, we review and debate and debunk them. And we came across your story and we reviewed it last week on the podcast. And we really wanted to get you back on and just share your view about it because there was some pretty harsh critics about it, and we wanted to kind of just hear your voice. But before we do, I would really love for you to share with our listeners your story. You've had such an amazing transformation. I'd love to hear what inspired you to even start keto and what you do with keto now and about your challenges. So if you could share that for our listeners, we would absolutely love that.
Sure. Yeah. So let's see. I started keto about 5 years ago. Initially, I was just doing like the regular standard 1,200 calories, brown rice, sweet potato, and fat-free chicken breast, bland, boring, miserable diet foods that we were taught that's what we should be eating if we want to lose weight. I started on a weight loss journey because I was depressed. I had anxiety. I was suicidal. I was dealing with a lot of unresolved trauma from childhood and just kind of felt helpless. And my body was really a reflection of the way that I was feeling on the inside. I wasn't taking care of myself. Didn't really care to take care of myself and wasn't really interested in it. I was using food as a source of comfort, as a source of peace. And I honestly had a food addiction. So about 5 years ago, when I decided to make some changes, it was really inspired out of this place of just wanting to take better care of myself. Not necessarily I need to lose all of this weight because I had well over 100 pounds to lose. I was 260 pounds, a size 20, size 4X. And once you get to needing to lose like over 100 pounds, it just seems insurmountable. Like, how am I ever going to do this? So I was like, okay, why don't I just try to just get healthier? Like, let's not set a weight loss goal. And eating the standard, diet food that most people usually use, I just still felt miserable. I would do well Monday through Friday. And then by Friday evening, I was ordering pizza. I'd eat 4 large pizzas by myself just over the weekend, and I would undo any progress that I made throughout the week. And then I had a trainer that recommended keto to me, and I was like, this sounds like I'm going to die. Like, there's no way that I'm going to just willingly eat these horrible foods. So I started researching. I spent about 6 weeks researching. Like, I did not sleep. I became obsessive about learning about this, trying to figure out all the ways I could possibly die from it, how I could avoid it. And then finally, I had enough courage to start it. And by week 1.5, I was hooked. Now, when I started keto, I was like, there's no way I'm staying this way forever. Like, I'll do it for at least 6 weeks. As long as I had spent researching it, I'll do it for, at max 6 weeks. By week 1.5, I was like, I'm never going back. Like, I don't understand why anyone would ever do anything else. For the first time, I wasn't feeling shame around the foods that I was eating, because a lot of times when we're on a diet, we go out to eat and our friends are ordering wonderful, delicious foods, and we're ordering the boring, bland, like side salad and chicken breast dressing on the side, and we're just miserable, and we end up calling attention to the thing that we're trying to hide. And we go home, and on the way home, we hit every fast food restaurant we can find. And so I was just so thankful to be out of that place where there was shame around the care that I was trying to take for my body, of being that girl that was always on a diet, but still always overweight. And keto for me just brought about this freedom to eat these foods that sound really scandalous. There's obviously lots of hate and negativity that comes with this way of eating. My personality, when everyone's against it, I'm like, I want to learn more about it and see what this is about. And so I feel like there's so much power and freedom and control that comes with this way of eating, because we get to eat amazing, delicious foods that are not your typical diet foods. And I saw incredible success, losing over 100 pounds in my first 9 months. And then I went on to continue to lose in the months after that. And I'd say after doing this for about 2 years, I had my children, and I'm just like, with everything that I've learned and everything that I know and all the people that I'm helping, why would I not be helping my children with this? Like, why is it okay for my, 2-year-old and my 8-year-old to eat these foods, but it's not okay for the 30-year-old? Is there a way for me to reverse engineer this and say, how can I help people not get to this space? And so that's when I really started to look into it for my kids. And I'm like, these are healthy, whole foods. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these foods, for my children to be eating them. And so we kind of made that decision as a family. It wasn't an announcement. It was, hey, we're going to take our health as a family as something serious. I feel like me getting healthy was a gift that I gave to my family, and me teaching my children how to have a healthy relationship with food, how to have a healthy relationship with their body, is a gift that I can give, to them also. So that's really how we got started. It was motivated for me out of a place of, weight loss, because I had a significant amount of weight to lose. But for my children, they were not obese. But it was, the more that I learned about sugar, I'm just like, I can't know what I know and continue to feed them the way that I was. In my opinion, I felt like, for me to have the amount of knowledge that I had about sugar, that it would be reckless for me to continue to give it to them and, provide these foods to them the way that I was.
Oh, that's such a relatable story for many people. Like, I just find it really inspirational. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I guess so many uh, people, like, we'll get to the outrage of people, but like, you've just broken it down so simply here about how you're just like, and I totally agree with you, the amount that when you about sugar and all these processed foods that our children are being bombarded with. How could we, if we know this information, how could we continue to feed them these things? So I think it's just really admirable that you're stepping up and sharing that with people. So thank you for sharing that. And then also, then you've gone on to inspire so many other people. So tell us a little bit more about your challenges and how they work.
Yeah. So, really, for me, I never saw this as being a business where we would be helping, people. But what I started to realize, I remember, I'll never forget, there was a moment where I was standing, in my bathroom. I tried on, this 4X tank top that I had, and it was huge on me. And I was looking at myself in the mirror, what seemed like for the first time in 3 years. Like, I really looked at myself, and I just began to weep. And I felt this like wave of depression and anxiety. Like, it just like hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm like, this is really strange, because I didn't feel that heaviness anymore. But it was like, in that moment, I felt like I was experiencing the weight of the depression and the anxiety and the self-loathing and the self-hatred that so many people were still feeling that day. And something inside of me just felt like, I can't leave these people behind. Like, I had been one of those people for so long. It almost felt selfish for me to just be like, okay, well, I'm out, good luck to the rest of you. And so I was like, man, like, what can I do? And it's like, I felt like someone had to tell them. I've always seen, like, the people that tried to help me were these people that had been in shape their entire life. They looked like they never had a donut. They didn't even like donuts, never had a stomach ache. Like, their favorite food was like grass. And that's just person that, like, they just can't relate to me. They don't know what it feels like to just want to eat everything and get your peace and your comfort from food. They're saying give up food. You're not telling me to just give up food. You're asking me to give up my sense of security, and this sense of belonging that I have. And so I think there was just something there where I was like, I can't leave these people behind. I have to be the person that bridges the gap, that says, hey, I have been there. I know what you feel like. I know what it feels like to eat all of your kids' snacks before they even know that you got them the snacks. And then you have to go back to the grocery store to re-get the snacks, because you want them to have those snacks, but you get two so that they have theirs and you have yours. Like, I know what that feels like, but I also know what it feels like to make that change and struggle through that. And so that's when we actually started helping people and coaching people. So we do these challenges on a monthly basis. They're 21 days. We give people a general keto meal plan. We give you a workout plan. We calculate your macros. We give you some ebooks and help you learn about keto. But the most important thing in our group is this community that we have. It's a Facebook group with a few hundred people. And it's honestly the daily accountability and check ins. Like, we are talking about real serious things, because I don't want to just lose weight and then go back to being overweight and unhealthy the way that I was before. And the way that I can avoid that is figuring out why. And if I was eating because of trauma, these emotional stressors that I was having, I know that other people are dealing with that also. So on a daily basis, we're getting people to talk about real things, like talk about how you felt when your parents got divorced at 9 years old, and why it was candy that you went to or cake that you went to. And now you've developed these habits. And so just allowing people to be in a space where someone else can literally say, me too. Like I've done that also. I might not have the same story as you, but I have been through this also. There's something about that that brings us out of that shame that we're in, because shame tells us that we're all alone. There's no one like us. We're the only ones dealing with it. And we become prisoner to whatever it is that we're dealing with. So these challenges put people in a community where there's other people that can relate to what they're going through. I share more of my story on weekly live question and answers that we do, and really just help people see that, hey, this is much bigger than just eat less and move more. Like it's not that simple. There's other things going on. You're not just a failure. It's not that you just can't get it right. It's not that every diet has failed. It's that you're overlooking one of the most important things, not working out, but doing that inner work of figuring out, hey, why is it that this is what I always go to? And just providing that support and community for people to be able to turn to.
Oh, I love that so much. Food is such a great starting point, but you're doing the deeper work there. You're really getting to that root cause of some of these underlying issues, and you're being supportive about it, and it's in a safe community. I think that's just such an amazing thing. And I'm going to hand over to Holly now because my voice is definitely starting to disappear. So Holly.
Yeah, Abby, thank you so much. You just shared like so many great nuggets. I'm really curious. So like, do you think doing the keto diet, and like once you started losing weight, do you think that that allowed you to then dive deeper and figure out those underlying like traumas and like root problems? Or did you all know all along that you had that deeper work to do? Or is that something that this kind of came about as you started losing weight and getting healthier?
Kind of came about with doing keto. So I say this, I'm so glad that when I had like this revelation that it was keto that I was on, because we might be like the house of vegetarian right now. Like I'm super glad that it was keto, because I love bacon. But I think what started to happen was that I started to notice that I was less hungry, but I was still going and trying to reach for food. And so I started to question why. And I started to notice, like I kind of mentioned it earlier, I like to like reverse engineer stuff. Like, okay, I'm going to fix this problem, but I don't want to waste my time. I'm not going to do this twice. So let's figure out how we got here so that we can figure out how to not do this again. So I'm reaching for food, even though I feel stuffed. Why? Okay, well, I feel like a failure as a mom right now, or I feel unsafe or unprotected, or I don't feel like I have anyone to talk to. And so I started looking at those things as being the reasons why I was eating. And then like I'm just looking at the immediate things that were happening in my life right then. But then I'm like, okay, let's go back even further. Like when did this start? Why is it that automatically when I feel stressed out or I feel alone or I feel unsafe, that I'm like, oh, you know what's going to make me feel better? Strawberry milk and cake. Like that's exactly what I need. And so the more work I started to do with that, I started to realize, hey, this is not just right now, what's wrong with me? Why do I just keep reaching for the sugar? But this is something that I started doing in childhood. And so I started taking my mental health just as seriously as I was taking my physical health. And I think that they have to go hand in hand, because there's been times before where I lost weight and I was successful, but I didn't do any working in. I only did the working out. I worked out what I needed to do in the kitchen, what I worked out in the gym, but I didn't do any inner work. And I think that's one of the keys to maintaining, and even just seeing sustainable progress where you're not losing 5 pounds and then gaining 4 back. It's just like this, we're continuously moving this marker of saying, okay, this we've accomplished, this we've done. So I think that that work is so important, and it's so missed in this space, because it's all about, I want to fit in this pant size, I want to fit in this dress. And while yes, keto can help you lose 10 pounds if you want to lose 10 pounds for a wedding, that's not what I'm here for. That's not the type of work that we do. That's not my client. My client is someone who has been for years neglecting their mental health, their physical health, and they've been using food as this coping skill. And so it was really, once you have that revelation, it's like, well, man, I did this to myself. But you have to go even further than that. And I had to find this grace for myself to say, no, I can thank myself for developing this coping mechanism that really saved me. Because if I had to feel the weight of everything that had gone through, I don't know that I'd still be here today. And even being thankful for food addiction, even though it really sucked, it could have been that I was addicted to alcohol. It could have been that I was addicted to drugs. And so I'm thankful that even in my addiction, it was food, that we don't see the immediate result of I'm addicted to this, and that I had time to stop and correct it. So I think me just saying, hey, this is what I've gone through and this is the work that I've done. It seems corny and cheesy, and everyone's like, I just want to lose the 10 pounds. I just want to lose the 20 pounds. Like, you're going to make it so much harder if you don't do this work, because you're going to feel like you've failed when you reach for the Oreos. And it's not that you failed when you reach for the Oreos, it's that you have these feelings that are unprocessed, and teaching people that you're worthy of someone hearing that you had a bad day. Like, they might not relate that your coworkers are crazy or wild, but still call someone and like, I had a bad day. Give someone the opportunity to be there for you. And then if you still go eat the food after that, it's not going to work the same way. It's not going to make you feel the same way, because the first thing that you're doing is going and building this bond and this support, and really allowing somebody to be there for you in that time.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I love how you take it and put it back to gratitude and being thankful for the experiences, and being thankful for being able to dive deeper and experience that and just give it back to other people. It gets so much is about the mindset, and just it's wonderful that you can provide that safe space for people. I want to talk about this article that Leah and I talked about. This is an Australian article, so Leah found it. The title of it is "Mom Slammed for Giving 11-year-old Daughter Keto Lunch." So like I mentioned, we talked about this, and Leah and I had a conversation where, like, you know what, we can speculate, we can make assumptions, but you know what, we don't know what happened. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how accurate this article is. So I'll just summarize it again really quickly, just for our listeners who might not have read it yet. And then we definitely want to hear your take on it, Abby. So this says, as a US mom, she's been criticized online for revealing she feeds her children aged 11 and 5 meals from a controversial weight loss diet. American mom Abby Dorwinger runs a TikTok account. She's House of Keto, where she shares keto recipes and meal plans with her more than 500,000 followers. And she went viral as she shared her 11-year-old daughter's lunchbox that included watermelon as a surprise. And you mentioned that you don't typically include watermelon in your regular diet because it has more carbs and sugar than we normally eat, and people just went bananas, which I shouldn't use because there's too much sugar in bananas, right? Okay, people went crazy. Abby, tell us what happened, what is going on here, and what has it been like for you since this post went viral?
Wow. So our kids celebrated 3 years keto this June. So this is nothing new to us. We've been getting hate the entire time that we've done it. But I guess just starting off from the beginning, a controversial weight loss diet. So first of all, ketosis is a metabolic state that our body can enter. We're actually born in ketosis, and a baby will actually remain in ketosis so long as they're exclusively breastfed. Even if you start giving them table food, so long as it's not filled with corn syrup, like most of our baby foods, they would actually remain in ketosis. So it's completely natural. It's the way that we were born. And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You can be in the metabolic state of ketosis and lose weight. You can be in the metabolic state of ketosis and gain weight, or you can be in the metabolic state of ketosis and maintain the current weight that you're at. And so people know it obviously as a weight loss diet, but that is not how everyone in my house uses it. I obviously use keto for weight loss. I'm currently using keto for maintenance. My husband didn't know that he had weight to lose, but he lost 50 pounds on keto. He was always tall, and I always thought he was tall and skinny. He switches to keto and he loses 50 pounds, and he's the healthiest he's ever been. My children have never been overweight. We don't count any of their macros. Like, I couldn't tell you how many carbs and how many grams of protein. I couldn't tell you, because we don't count it. Actually, in our house and in none of our videos do we ever refer to it as the keto diet. We always just say we're keto. Our family's keto, sugar-free. I usually start off all of our videos saying, making my daughters, keto friendly, low carb, sugar-free, whatever you want to call it, lunch. Because some people are like, well, there's fruit in it, so it's not sugar-free. And, there's a bunch of different stuff. But everyone in our household does not use keto the same way. So for our children, what's important to us is just curating foods for them and they can pick from it. Literally everything in our house is either low sugar or zero sugar. They can pick from it whatever they want to eat. If they don't want to eat it, they don't have to eat it. But I'm not going out to the store to go buy goldfish and dino nuggets. I'm just not going to do it. You have ribeye, you have steak, you have salmon, you have lobster, you have shrimp. There's like so many things in our house to eat. So the fact that people freaked out about it, just to me, it was something that I expected. Obviously, being a content creator, especially on TikTok, the whole premise of it is for videos to go viral. So, I obviously didn't use the word diet, but saying my 11-year-old daughter's keto, I know that that statement in itself is just going to be controversial. But I do this with the knowledge of the fact that I am putting out this information and it's going to draw in a large audience. There's a lot of people that are going to feel negatively about it, but there's also millions of people that are going to look at what we're doing and start following to find ways to reduce sugar in their own home. Like my goal in posting is never to tell someone what you're doing is wrong and what I'm doing is right. It's never to convince someone, hey, you need to do what we're doing. We've been sharing our life online literally for the last 5 years. Like everything we've ever done is documented, almost in like an overshare type way. We literally just share everything. So we've been sharing our daughter's lunches literally for the last 3 years. Hers are more interesting than my son's. We've shared his a couple times, but it's just meat. So it's not really that fun. But as far as, the foods that we keep here in the house, fruit, we have berries, we have strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, and occasionally we have watermelon or apples, maybe sometimes grapes. But it's not something that we normally have because it is higher in sugar. It's just not something that we keep in the house. My son doesn't eat fruit at all, and I don't force him. He doesn't eat vegetables. I don't force him. He's pretty much carnivore. He eats nose to tail, and he eats almond flour crackers. When we first transitioned him, he was actually nonverbal and had a referral to be checked out for autism. And for me as a mother, not saying that keto cures autism because we've had people freak out about that. This is just our experience. We switched his way of eating. We removed sugar from his diet, and the kid literally never stops speaking. I have to ask for a moment so I can think about what I want to think about. Like we've just seen amazing transformation with our kids mentally. My daughter's a straight A student. Her cognitive function and ability, she's progressing the way that she's supposed to. Our pediatrician supports what we're doing. And the thing is that we are feeding our children a proper human diet. This is meat. This is eggs. This is fish. This is full fat dairy, eggs, nuts, seeds, healthy fats. There's nothing that is in grains that my children are missing out on. We'll hear, well, they need a banana for potassium. There's more potassium in an avocado than in a banana. Well, they need a cutie, they need an orange, they need vitamin C. There's more vitamin C in a bell pepper than it is in an orange, but also glucose. Glucose and vitamin C, it's the same receptors in the body. Basically, if you lower the glucose in the body does not need as much vitamin C. So all of these things that people are like, well, did you think of this and did you think of that? Yes, but I can't tell you all of these things in a 60-second video. So I think it's crazy. We literally still to this day, we still get death threats. I think that video now has over 10 million views. We still get death threats, people saying, we're going to harass you until your kids get taken away and all of this stuff. And it's like, really, to me, that angers me, not for my family, but for the other families out there that actually do need the state to intervene because there is abuse going on in the home. You are calling the authorities on me because my daughter, like when she goes to a restaurant, my daughter orders lobster and shrimp. She doesn't want chicken fingers. Like she doesn't want your fruit cup. She wants lobster and shrimp and sparkling water. There's no abuse going on over here, but our children have the opportunity to have sugary treats. They have the opportunity to have sweets on vacation, holidays, birthdays, and special occasions. We do it with community the way that I think it should be done, not sitting at home and, okay, well, you had a bad day at school. Let's go get you some ice cream to cheer you up. No, because when you're 30 years old and you have a bad day at work, you're eating a bag of chocolate to cheer you up because that's what I taught you in childhood. No, we're going to sit, we're going to talk about it. Now, after we talk about it, might we go in the kitchen and make a treat? Maybe. But the first thing that we're going to do is talk about it. Our children also have the ability to really be able to listen to their body and see how they feel by eating this way. They can actually tell if they are hungry or if they are not, which is not really possible when kids are eating a ton of sugar. Like moms know if it's summertime where you're at and your kids are out of school, all they want to know is when the next meal is. That's it. They're eating around the clock. It's like they're bottomless pits. With this way of eating, with them eating fatty proteins, like they are more full, they're more satiated. So they're not eating around the clock, but they're able to tell us, hey, I'm hungry or I'm full. If I ask my kids if they want breakfast and they tell me they're not hungry, I'm not forcing them to eat just so that I can feel like a good mom before they run out the door. They know if they feel full or if they feel hungry. And I feel like a lot of times we're just looking at our children as children and not as how they're going to be members of society, how they're going to be adults. In adulthood, nobody forces you to eat when you don't want to eat. If you say you're not hungry, nobody's shoving food down your throat. But I'm teaching them to be able to listen to their bodies by removing sugar, removing these processed foods that are literally made in the labs to have their bliss point, to the point where their body is not able to say, I'm full, I'm not hungry anymore. I'm teaching my children to listen to their body, to say, hey, I'm hungry, hey, I'm full. The same way that I want them to listen to their body when they feel uncomfortable around a friend or uncomfortable around a neighbor, I'm teaching them that your body speaks and that we can listen to it. And if they ever ask for something, my daughter, when I went to the grocery store last week, asked me to get some apples. It wasn't a production. I got the apples. And the apples are gone. The apples are gone. I'm a curator. I bring these foods into the house. They can either choose to eat them or not. And so I don't really focus on the negativity. It's obviously, we know how to take it and turn it around for positivity. I mean, we were in the New York Post. We were featured on a bunch of different places, and it brings in a bunch of people that have negative things to say, but it also brings in people that are curious to see, how can I do this for my family?
Perfect example there of really there is no such thing as bad press, because as you said, it's like as people are talking about this, as you're drawing more attention to it, yeah, you're going to be criticized. There are going to be haters. People always have something negative to say, but I always love that saying, is other people's opinion of you is none of your business, because it just kind of keeps things in perspective there. But all those other people that are looking at the way you're feeding your children, looking at the way you guys are living and thinking to themselves, I think I could do that. Like, I really like to stop buying dino nuggets. I'd rather feed my kids whatever we're eating. So it's wonderful that you're able to set that example and have such a good philosophy around it, where it's not dogmatic, it feels balanced. I love that you said that you're feeding your children a proper human diet. And I 100% agree with you. I could also see how just that statement alone is going to make someone angry, because someone who's not feeding their kids this way is gonna be like, oh, so what? I'm not feeding my kids properly. So it's like you can't win, right?
Yeah. And so with that, I feel like online, and I always use the example of like a crafty mom. I'm the least crafty person ever, but I have so much respect for crafty moms. Like, I love Etsy. I love to buy stuff from people that are crafty. But on Valentine's Day, I'm not making my kid homemade Valentine's. I'm not. Like, I'm going to the drugstore, we're picking up something fun, and we're going to call it a day. But when I see the moms come in with their homemade ones, I'm like, geez, like, you did a great job. But what happens with us, it's like, okay, if this is not something that you're ready or able to do, and you have to feed your kids mac and cheese and nuggets for dinner, do it. I personally, it doesn't change anything that we're doing in my house, but people feel like because we're feeding our kids this way, that I'm saying that they're a bad mom. So a lot of times, especially with the mom shaming and stuff, it comes from a place of insecurity. Like, well, you think that you're a better mom than me because your kid didn't have juice today. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, this was hard. This is honestly this was harder than me losing 130 pounds, especially for my son, because he was so picky, because he had all these texture issues and stuff like that. It was extremely difficult. It is not for someone who does not have the willpower to do it. But I had to prioritize my children's health above my convenience. Like, it is so much more convenient to just pop something in the microwave, heat something up, or buy one of these pre-made meals, even if it is a healthy meal. Like, if I can give them food that's cooked at home, it's just much better. Even that, I'm like, even if you were to make nuggets at home, you're probably better off than you are with the dino nugget. But if you don't have time, then you feel like I'm saying that you're a bad mom because you didn't. And it's like, I'm not. My video, the way that we live our life, House of Keto, does not say anything about you. The only thing it says is something about us. So we're very careful in that, and saying like, your kids shouldn't do this and your kids shouldn't do that. Now, when we're responding, I have a sense of humor. I like to be smart aleck sometimes. Like, when I'm responding to stuff like that, then yeah, if you're telling me like, hey, you need to have your kids taken away and your kid's going to be dumb, they're never going to make it in school, then I'm probably going to say, my kid is actually probably going to be your kid's boss, and end it there. Like, and so it's like, we'll see, like, my kid will be signing your kid up for his 401k, and then you'll want to know what we were feeding our kid to get there. And so little things like that. That's like, I don't just come out there and say that. it's not necessarily my philosophy, but it's like, if you're going to tell me that my kid is dumb and stupid and they're never going to be anything, or my kid's going to have an eating disorder, like, you're opening yourself up from that. And I think that's one of the reasons why the video went viral in itself, was because most of the people that are on TikTok are like, oh, let's, stay positive and only focus on positive comments. They're not getting the death threats like we get, So, oh, so yo, you look fat in that. Okay. But there's a million people telling you that you look great. But the intensity of which people went after us was just like, hey, there's no way that I could just not say anything. I'm going to poke fun of it. A diet is just the way of eating. Your dog is on a diet. Bears are on a diet. Birds are on a diet. Diet is not synonymous with restriction. We have done that. But we even know that most of the people that consider themselves to be on a diet are not even restricting, because they're not even following it. So it's like, this is not like, I mean, that's the thing. I'm a realist. Like, I've been on a diet my whole life, and my whole life I was overweight. I wasn't even, it was just this mindset and mentality that I had, that I was going to walk around with on a daily basis of, I'm not doing enough. I'm not good enough. This is what I have to do in order to do that. And so I did listen to the podcast that you guys did talking about this, and it was like talking a little bit about diet culture. And I'm like, I feel like diet culture, like, we have done that. And so by me doing this, it's a way for me to change it for my daughter. Like, we don't talk about the way that her body looks. We talk about how strong she is. My son talks about his muscles. Like, my daughter is built almost like a gymnast. She doesn't work out. She's not even in like sports and stuff like that. Whatever she wants to do, we support, but it is not about, hey, if you want to be beautiful, you have to look this way. Because I dealt with that and it still happens now. When you say, hey, I want to lose weight, the first thing someone says to you is, you're beautiful just the way you are. And nothing pisses me off more than that statement.
Because I was just going to say, that makes me so mad.
Literally, I never said I was ugly. I never said that I was ugly. Like, being overweight and cute, that is a luxury. Not everybody gets it. So don't sit here and act like I just said that I was ugly. And people usually, like, I understand, they don't know what to say in that situation. They feel uncomfortable. They feel like they need to let you know that it's okay to stay the way that you are. But I never equated beauty with my size. You just did. So the proper response to that is, what are your plans? Like, what do you think you want to do? How can I support you with that? Not, you're beautiful just the way you are. Because whether I'm beautiful or not, it doesn't exclude me from heart disease. It doesn't exclude me from diabetes. It doesn't mean that I don't have visceral fat around my organs and my health is not at risk. So just because I'm beautiful doesn't mean I should stay unhealthy. And so my daughter knows that her body, the choices that she makes with her body are going to determine whether or not she is healthy. And so when we're on vacation, we might be on a 7-day vacation, and I'll say, hey, you guys can eat whatever you want. By day 3, this girl is coming to me like, Mom, could you just make me some eggs and bacon? Like, don't order me pancakes this morning. Like, I can't do it, because of the way that she feels, and she's able to listen to her body. And I think that's so special, because especially in the world that we live in now, we're told to deny ourselves all the time. Just do this because a man wants you to do it, or do this because your boss wants you to do it. Like, we so ignore our gut and how we feel on the inside. We're constantly silencing it to make someone else feel comfortable. Like, if me not eating a meal because I'm full makes you feel uncomfortable, that says more about you than it does about me. Like, this has nothing to do with me. And that's a lot of what we saw on TikTok, was the projection of, well, my mom made me go on a diet when I was 6, and now I'm eating all the food. Like, I'm really sorry that happened to you, but that's not happening here. And I've been shamed before because of my weight as a child. That didn't help me with anything as far as losing weight. But we're not doing that. I'm teaching my kids the proper way to eat. And when they turn 18, if they decide to become bakers, you better believe me, as their mother, I will be at their bakery ordering the first cake that they produce. Like, that is their choice. And people are like, well, they're going to be addicted to sugar. They're going to be addicted and, go off the rails once they become older. Which is better, a lifetime of sugar addiction or a lifetime minus 18 years? I'm going with the lifetime minus 18 years. So if they're still going to be addicted, they're going to be addicted. Like, the majority of humans right now are addicted to sugar. The majority of children are addicted to sugar, whether we believe it or not. And if I am doing this for my children, and for 18 years, they're not going to be addicted to sugar, they're still much better off. And that's a choice that they'll get to make when they turn 18. As long as they live in my house, we're brushing our teeth, we're going to go to school and learn how to read, and we're not going to be addicted to sugar. And it's just as simple as that. They don't get to choose, oh, I think I'm going to eat 4 bags of chips today. Where are you going to get them from? Because they're not here in the house. You don't have a job. Like, you're not buying them. And so I feel like that responsibility is on us as a parent. You can't be upset at the child for eating these foods that you're providing. They're choosing from what you have there. So yeah, your kid only wants to eat this because that's all that you're offering them. But we've seen with our kids being in school, packing their lunches, the kids want what my kids are bringing. I don't know why, because when I was a kid, you were joked if you brought your own lunch to school. Like you wanted to get the school lunch. But for some reason, it's like the kids are almost seeing this as this lunch is more special because it's got all of these colors and it just looks nicer or whatever. So our kids they're not teased or joked in school, and they know why they're doing it, so they know how to deal with that. But TikTok is crazy. It's mostly children. And I'm like, when people are saying this, I'm like, you still live at home with your mom, so you don't even get to pick the food that's on the grocery list. So it's really not even you I should be talking to. Like, give the phone to your mom. Let me talk to her. Let me let her know what her kid's up here doing on TikTok, and also let's talk about what's in the cabinets.
Oh, that's so funny. I have had the people say the same things to me, and I'm sure Leah too, about how, oh, your kids, once they can pick their own foods, they're just going to go crazy. They're going to just eat all this stuff. And it's like, you know what? Maybe, like you said, that might be, but we're also they are also learning how to listen to their bodies. As you mentioned, they're learning how their bodies feel when they're properly nourished. And you know what, sometimes when my kids were in school, it was like flaming hot Cheetos, like that was the thing. Of course, I'm not packing flaming hot Cheetos in their lunch, but all the kids at school have them, and so they're eating them at school. And I'm not going to freak out. Like, they're going to know by how their body feels whether their body likes that or not. The novelty of that wore off, but I did not tell them, no, you can't have them. Will I buy them and have them in my house? No. But if you're going to trade some kid at school your lunch so you can eat their hot Cheetos, go for it. Like, I'm not going to stop you from making that choice, because you're the one where, exactly as you said, like, it's your body. You get to make that choice and you get to feel how that feels.
And I'm
Yeah,
exactly
like
the same way. You go, Abby. I was going to say I'm the same way in our family as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we don't police, like, that's a common question we get asked, like, how do we deal with school and birthday parties and stuff like that? In the beginning, when the goal was to allow them to detox from sugar and break that sugar addiction, we would bring our own stuff. Still, the schools that they go to, we supply them with snacks, and we list sugar and carbohydrates on their medical forms. Do not feed my children. Treat this the same way that you would a peanut allergy. You wouldn't take a kid with a peanut allergy and shove peanuts down their throat. Do not give my children sugar. What's the medical issue? Well, giving them sugar makes them susceptible to all of these things, and I can list the diseases. And so, like, it's not like, oh, well, this isn't going to happen until they're 30. It happens when they're 30 because of the lifetime that they've been doing it. So it's an issue. Don't feed my kids. I will supply them everything that they need. And then, since they've been doing it for 3 years, my daughter's older. She's much, more capable of being able to make that decision. So if there's a party at school and she wants to have Chick-fil-A, it's a conversation. Mom, we're having Chick-fil-A at school on such and such day. Can I have it? Do you want to have it? Yes, I do. Okay, you can have it. It's as simple as that. But it's not an everyday thing. My son is a little bit different, because his reaction, and we don't necessarily know why, but his reaction when he has sugar, it's like almost like he struggles to breathe, like he's constantly trying to clear his throat. So for him in his class, he'll be starting kindergarten this year. It's just something that we say, hey, do not do. He doesn't really eat many of those foods anyway. Like he wouldn't even eat pudding or applesauce or a dino nugget if you gave it to him. Like, he just doesn't like it. He'll eat just plain like grilled chicken, but he won't eat nuggets. He won't eat mac and cheese. He will not eat rice. It would be abuse if I forced him to eat that, the way that he would respond. So for him, for school and stuff like that, we say, hey, don't give him anything, because we don't know what this thing is yet. When he has sugar, I want to make sure that when he does have it, that I'm there and I'm able to monitor. But he's also, at 5 years old, he's able to self-regulate. Like, he's like, I don't want this anymore. Can you make me a burger? I'm ready to get rid of this. And so, birthdays now, he will eat like a cupcake. He might have half of it. Maybe he'll pick the bread or the frosting. Usually he doesn't eat both, but it's something to look forward to. Like, hey, I really want to go to this kid's birthday party, but I'm also really excited to have the cupcake. Like, that's a kid thing. Like, that's normal, And so we just learned how to teach our kids that this is the right time to have these things. Like, this is our baseline. This is how we eat. We have healthy bodies, so that when we do have sugar, when we do have these treats, it doesn't affect us in the same way. And the body actually responds differently when it is not constantly being overloaded with sugar. And the science, I can't remember what article I was reading, it was quite a few of them, but the science is actually showing that the less sugar that they have in childhood, that they are least likely to become addicted in adulthood, because their body during the critical time in their development is not wiring their body to say, I need this in order to survive. It's almost like a muscle memory, but of the brain. So we're teaching them, hey, this isn't what we do. People on TikTok will say, well, how do they get to, they're not kids and they need to make memories. It's really sad if the only memories that you have of being a child is popsicles and, cake. Like our
Yes,
kids
thank
love to
you.
travel. Yeah, like they love to do things. Like my son, all he wants to do is play dinosaurs all day, or for me to chase him or joke each other back and forth. Like that's a memory that I want him to have. Not, I had the best ice cream when I was 7 and like it was magical. Might there be food there? Maybe. But if the only memories I have from childhood is food, like I don't know. I feel like we're giving them something that is a lot, it's a lot more, it's different. And it's not something that can mess up. Like what happens if they don't make your childhood favorite anymore? Like, no, but you're never going to be able to take that memory away with mom on the trampoline, or mom getting on your bike that she's way too big for, or whatever. Like for them to be able to see that and experience that, and the way that they're able to process even their emotions is a gift that I'm giving them that a lot of adults don't have, because we just don't know how. We weren't taught. Our parents, to no fault of their own, didn't know how to process their emotions. And now we've got generations of people that don't know how to process their emotions. So they're taking it out on their coworkers at work. They're taking it out on their spouse. They're taking it out on their kids. And so this for us is not just this short term, I don't want you to be fat. This has absolutely nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing to do with that. We're looking at the end game. I'm setting up my children for success in adulthood, because they're only children for 18 years of their life. The rest of the time, they have to be a contributing member to society. And a lot of times we focus on just right now, like our philosophy was sharing, like, I don't get to go over to my neighbor's house and say, give me your Tesla, it's my turn now. Like, just like in adulthood, no one's shoving food down your throat and telling you you're not getting up from this table at the restaurant until you finish all your food. No, I paid for it. I could get up and leave as soon as it comes if I want to. And that's just, I feel like, something that we're missing in society today, and the way that we're approaching raising children. It's just like, oh, let's just focus on the 18 years that they're here and that's it.
Oh, that is such a great message. It's like so inspirational. I could probably just listen to you talk all day long. I'm so glad we actually had you on today, because I really feel like this message needs to get out. I'm just glad that we can help you share it and get it out. I'm glad we were able to dive deeper into like the context of the article and to really clear up some misconceptions about it all. Leah, do you have anything you want to add or say?
If my voice holds up. No, I've just been listening as well. And I just think that, there's so many messages in this podcast that people need to hear. And if those haters would just stop eating their sugar and clear their ears out for a little minute, they'd actually hear some important messages in there. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, which I thought was hilarious, was like, with having families that are, keto or low carb or eating real food, how much does it cost when you go to a restaurant with your children? I have an 11-year-old and he always orders the adult meal, like a big steak or ribs or whatever it is. And my parents sit there horrified. You're letting him order that? I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to let him order chicken nuggets.
I know my kids order off the adult meal too on the menu, because I was like, my kids don't eat that stuff.
Yeah, but so people think that it's expensive, but it's actually not. When I don't have to buy you a treat every time we're in the store because you're freaking out, and candy and all of that stuff. Obviously, we spend a lot more on food because, as a recipe creator and all that stuff, we're constantly having to do that. But overall, like on a daily basis, I don't need to keep my refrigerator stocked with snacks. They eat some meat, maybe at around 11 or 12, and then we'll have dinner. That's it. So we might be spending more money than the average family spends on protein, but we're not spending money on all the other stuff. I don't have to buy, 20 bags of chips to get us through the week while the kids are out of school. So it balances out. And I just love to see it. And I love the looks on everyone's face when my 11-year-old, she's been doing it for 3 years now, orders lobster and shrimp, and she's like, and she needs sparkling water. And my son, he'll usually either split like a huge steak with my husband, or he'll order like a burger with no bun. And still to this day, if we're on vacation, he will still, I don't even think he knows how to eat a burger the regular way. He still gets it. He takes the bread off and sits it to the side and calls it his dessert, which is dessert. And so he's like, I'll eat that later. And he might take like 3 or 4 bites of it. But that's it. Like, I think he thinks the way to eat a burger is just fisting the patty in his hand, and I don't
With a
stop
knife
him.
and
It's
fork.
just so cute. Yeah,
He's like,
like,
why
"Oh,
do they
put the
wrap
bread
it
on
this
it."
way?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, they put the bread on top of it," and I was like, "Oh, really?" And he sits it to the side every single time. I'm like, "Oh man, I'll have to tell him not to do that anymore."
Love that.
That's funny.
Definitely.
Okay, so our listeners can find you on Instagram at House of Keto, and on TikTok at House of Keto as well. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners today, where they can find you? Are you still taking people for your challenge, or is it too late for the one you're doing right now?
No, so we always have a challenge up and available for people to join. It's on our website. Our website is www.thehouseofketo.com. And then you can just go to challenges and whichever ones we have up. Like we have an August one that will be starting soon, but then after that, we have a September challenge, a little nugget that I'll drop here. We're actually going to be doing a free, I can't remember if it's 5-day or 10-day challenge towards the end of August. So if you miss out starting in with this August challenge and you're just like, I want to know what this is all about, we're going to give people a chance to like jump in on the last leg of the August challenge, just because I know everyone starts to get focused back on this when school gets back in session. So hopefully to encourage people to join us for September. On Instagram, we are house.of.keto, and on TikTok, we're House of Keto. The lady who has House of Keto on Instagram hasn't been on there in 5 years. I'm trying to get Instagram to give me the name. I've been messaging her for literally 3 years and she will not respond. So, but thank you guys so much for having me. I had a really great time today.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll link up all your social links and your website where people can find the challenges. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Yeah, that is the end of today's episode. Our theme music is created by Andrew Bowden, and production services are by Kevin Kennedy Spain of Disc of Light Media. Have a great week.
Have a great week.